Okay, so this sucker was a ton of work to figure out, but very rewarding after the fact. This is one of the exclusive items I designed to include with Wings of Fire mystery boxes that I've been doing for Christmas. They're still available in my store for another few days, so if you're looking for an awesome Christmas present, you should totally drop by and take a look. There's a link in the description and in the pinned comment below. This is just one of several special new products I put together for these boxes, alongside some new prints, some new pins, some new stickers, and 2 new sticky notes. And these are exclusive to the mystery boxes this Christmas, so if you're interested in getting a look at the rest of this stuff, that's the only way to get them. Each box does have a couple of these special items thrown in though, and the bigger ones have more, so all the boxes have at least 2 of the new items. And those are available until December 10th, so you'll have a few more days to grab one if you haven't already. But anyways, I actually wanted to do a 6 bookmark set similar to my 6 queen set I did earlier in 2024, but time constraints meant that I had to do something a little easier. I may still do a set with the Jade Winglet later, but for now, this is what I came up with. And because I can already hear you typing now, yes, I am aware that Peril isn't actually in their winglet. But Carnelian is dead, first of all. And second of all, nobody likes Carnelian. And Peril might as well be in the Jade Winglet. She was there longer than Carnelian, so don't at me. With that out of the way, I want to talk about the design process and the art process for this piece and just kind of go over the steps of making it work. By the way, this took something like 3.5 hours to put together. Seriously, it took so long. So I thought I was recording the sketch phase, which honestly was the most interesting and hardest part, but I guess I didn't click the record button because I don't have it. So unfortunately, you can't see my actual work making everyone fit in this weird setup, which is unfortunate because that was the most important part of this setup. Basically, I was going for a look like everyone is stacked up between 2 walls of something. We have Winter at the bottom, Kinkajou and Moon leaning around the corner above him, Umber and Turtle braced on the opposite wall a little higher up, and finally Keebly and Peril at the top. A couple of fun facts. For one, you know how I am about secret Moonbly hints in group pictures. So you can see Moon and Keebly glancing up at each other here, even though most everyone else is looking forward. Also, the 2 couples in this bookmark, Moonbly and Turtledew, are oriented in the same style. Moon and Keebly are shown from the side, and Turtle and Kinkajou are both in 3/4 view. The 3 single dragons are all facing directly toward the camera by contrast. Why does this matter? It doesn't. I just think it's cool. Anyways, here's somewhat of an important thing you can learn from this drawing. Obviously, this is not really a realistic pose. Certainly it's not possible if you think about gravity, but the anatomy of some of my poses is pretty suspect too. I've talked about this before though, and something I think is important to know is when to sacrifice realism for style points. Again, this depends on your art style and your preferences, but if you wanted a photorealistic image, you'd take a picture. Not with dragons, but in general. The purpose of art is to show your own style and your own twist. Even though you can logically know that this piece doesn't actually work realistically, your brain doesn't think of that on first glance. You think, wow, that's cute. So the trick with art sometimes, especially more cartoony art like this, is to know when it's okay to suspend your belief in order to have a fun piece like this. Something else I thought while I was working on this piece, especially in the early stages, was how the colors would play together. With the Jade Winglet, we have a huge mix of shades, so when I draw them together, I always try to keep in mind how everything will play together once the color is there. Also here, I was matching personalities to poses. When I sketched this, I started by finding a way to fit 7 dragons in this weird canvas size, and then I focused on adding identifying details. For instance, Winter's pose at the bottom is perfect for him. Solid, lacking flair, it makes a good base for the piece. He wouldn't have worked in Umber's pose, or Kinkajou's. Same with Keebly or Kinkajou. I wanted to give them the more expressive poses, since their personalities are a little louder. It's all about portraying emotion with those subtle body language hints. Although the colors came secondary to the positioning, I did originally actually intend to have Keebly and Moon switch places, but I decided I wanted them to have all the warm tones on one side and all the cooler tones on another. It's not a perfect split, since that'd be strange to look at, but if you draw a diagonal line from the bottom left to the top right, you can kind of see what I'm saying. You have Moon, Winter, and Turtle, who are all cool tone characters to one side, and you have Kinkajou, Keebly, Umber, and Peril on the other side with our warmer tones. I do think that worked out very nicely. Visually, the colors are arranged in a very satisfying way here. Another thing to note is that I deliberately stuck with pretty simple designs here. This piece has 7 dragons and is only 2 by 6 inches when it's printed in physical form. Using more complicated designs with more color variation and detail would have made the final product feel cluttered and heavy. Instead, I stuck with the simplest versions I could have while still having the characters recognizable and fun to look at. That's another trick you can use. For smaller drawings, use simpler designs. If I was going to make a poster with 1 or 2 dragons as the focal point, I would add lots and lots of detail to keep it from seeming empty. Here, emptiness is definitely not going to be a problem. Finally, the last little trick I tried, the one that really paid off in my opinion, was outlining everyone in a very thin white line. I did that by using fuzzy selecting and messing with the shrink and the grow settings, so I didn't hand draw those lines for the most part, thank the Lord. The reason I chose to do that though was to help differentiate who was where. Like it or not, this is a busy piece. So some crisp white thin lines to clearly mark where one dragon starts and another ends is very helpful. Plus it helped push the cartoony style I was going for here. Even more than usual, I wanted this bookmark to feel playful. It's a bunch of silly dragons in a silly pose you get to use as a bookmark, so it should be fun and non-serious. Also, the white lines match the couple little mood indicators I snuck in there, some lines around Winter and Kinkajou, Turtle's general confusion made obvious, and of course, you know I couldn't resist a little heart by Keeley to make my not-so-secret Moonblee agenda as obvious as possible. In total, this bookmark is perfect. It's messy. You can imagine 3 or 4 conversations going on at the same time in this picture. It's simple and pleasing to the eye, the colors are vivid and fun, the poses make me giggle, and it's a perfect Jade Winglet piece. It has their chaos, their camaraderie, and their more playful aspect on full display. I think my favorites from this piece are Turtle and Umber. I like how Turtle is tucked right under Umber's shoulder, while Umber is overextended and leaning against the opposite wall to keep his balance. I think it's a little funky, and I like that. I also like Moon though. Winter is blocking most of her pose, but her arms were doing a really cool thing that I was proud of figuring out before Winter's big dumb wings blocked out all my hard work. My least favorite is probably Kinkajou, just because I think I could have done a better job on her face. 3/4 views are my arch nemesis. Turtle turned out really good, but Kinkajou's face shape is my second arch nemesis, and the two mixed together are an anti-Cyprus potion. But in any case, go ahead and let me know who your favorites are in the comments. I'm interested to see what you think. And again, if you like the bookmark, it's only $2 in my store, so it's the bookmark that doesn't break the bank. There's a link in the description to my store, my DeviantArt, my Patreon, all that jazz. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other product design videos or subscribe to catch future projects. Thank you so much for watching, and please have a blessed day.